Hi everybody, scruffy looking nerd hoarder here. Things are going to get a little bit different today. I really was just going to film a video to talk about new acquisition right here, and we will get to that. But in filming the last few videos, I realized that I have never really talked about why I set this channel up. Going through the past dozen videos, it kind of looks like I'm not really doing anything more than just bragging about all of the stuff that I've got. And while yeah, I'm gonna do that because I'm kind of happy about a lot of the stuff that I've got, when I was envisioning this channel, that wasn't what I intended to do. My original intent was that this was going to be stories. As I showed off the different things that I have, generally speaking, most of them have some kind of meaning to me in my life. The video games, they're from a certain period of time, like the Sega Genesis, that might have something to do with my kids and when that system was still fairly new. Why did it actually matter? Why is it in my collection now? I don't collect necessarily for the sake of collecting, but some things I do, and honestly, that's one of them. But to go back a little bit in time, back in 2020, 2021, my dad was having some health issues. I'm not going to go into any details about what they were, but suffice it to say that I traveled all the way across the country and spent 3 or 4 months during the summer assisting my mom and helping my dad. There was a lot of things that needed to be taken care of. And since that was about the time that COVID was happening, it just so happened to be kind of a perfect storm of good luck, which is not what you really think of when you think of a perfect storm. But because everything was all remote work and everything, I was able to get special permission to remote work from wherever. And that wherever I chose to be in my parents' yard. Pulled my camper across the country, lived in that for a summer, and spent a lot of time helping out, visiting, spending time with my family, because I'm the only one that's on the other side of the country. My parents, my family, my kids, my grandkids, they're all 2,500 miles away. So that was just a fantastic thing, getting to spend time with all of them, because I really haven't been able to. And one weekend I decided that since the weather was nice and I was back in the area, there was a place that I had been to a few times growing up in that area that I hadn't been to in quite a while. So to get my parents out of the house, I said, hey, why don't we take a drive and go up to this little known remote corner of Yellowstone National Park. And that's what we did for the day. But an interesting thing happened on that drive. I mean, there's probably about 20 miles of dirt road. And while we were making our way to this site, my dad was sitting in the passenger seat while I was driving. And he started talking about this place and that place. And it was where he had worked when he was still fairly young, like late teens, early 20s. And saying, yeah, I did this and over there and worked for this guy over here. And I realized that I was in my mid-50s, and this is the first time in my life that I had heard anything about what my dad had done for his career. I knew what it was he did during the years when I could actually remember, when I was actually cognizant of what he did for a living. I went down there and helped him sometimes. But it's kind of a, you know what, my kids don't know anything like that about me either. They don't know how I got to where I am. Honestly, I am divorced from my kid's mother and have been since they were all fairly young. So they don't have any knowledge at all really about what my life was like after that divorce and after they were no longer living with me. And the minimum distance we were away was about 1,500 miles. So not a whole lot of time to talk to them, sometimes it makes you feel like you're a little bit of a stranger. So when I initially thought of this channel and all of the things going through, it was initially going to be all about, this is why it's important. This is why it matters. This particular item that I'm talking about now is from this particular time in my life, and this is why it matters. So this story was for my kids and for my grandkids, who are, again, a long ways away and they don't know. So rather than being like a lot of the other channels where restorations are happening and a lot of people talk about, here's the technical side of what this is, here's a little bit of the history of the company that made it, there's 1,000 videos out there for just about each and everything. It's already been done. A lot of the stuff that I work on, if you want to find out history or technical stuff about any of them, go look at the 8-bit guy, because he's already done it better than I can ever do. So what this is going to be is, here's why it matters, here's the story, and I don't know if it's going to interest any of you, honestly. I honestly don't even know if it's going to interest my kids or grandkids, but it's for them. If you guys actually like it, if there's more people than just my family that actually care or are interested or maybe even enjoy the stories, then that's great too. But I've never intended for this to be any kind of like get a plaque for the wall and thousands of subscribers and monetize, and this is going to be some kind of a second job for me. This is what I'm doing on my time, for my enjoyment, and for my kids and my grandkids. Hopefully some more people will be interested. If not, still there for those kids. So, to move on from this backstory and, the boring stuff, a lot of the stuff that I find that I bring into my collection comes from places like yard sales, flea markets, antique malls. So, a couple of weeks ago, girlfriend and I were out and we went to one of the antique malls, and we're just kind of killing time, honestly. It wasn't anything as far as we're going looking for anything, because we already know if you go to a flea market or an antique mall looking for a specific thing, that is the best way to guarantee you will never find that thing, ever. So, stumbled across this box on a shelf, and it had that whole 50s vibe to it. Pretty clean box. Opened it up, looked at it, and was happy with what I saw, but the price was way too much. Way more than I was willing to pay, until I saw the sign that said everything in this booth was 75% off. That brought the price down to what I was willing to pay, and I paid $22 for this. So, instead of me just holding it up and taking up half of the screen, we're going to switch to the overhead camera. We're going to open this up. We're going to go through everything and talk about it. So, let's go to the overhead. This is a stupid transition. This is a really stupid transition. We're going to switch cameras now and take a closer look at this. So what we have here is a transistor radio. So let's see what's in here. Why did I actually stop and pick this up? This is what I saw on the shelf. Just 1950s, 60s style box, and definitely looked like it had stuff there. Box was clean, and I took the lid off. I mean, look at this. It has a ribbon in it. A little yellowing on this, but come on, this is from a long time ago. I don't think I'm going to be able to replace this. It's past the 120 days. Now, I did a little research on this radio, and Channel Master was actually branded from something that was made by Sanyo back before, anybody was saying you should not buy Japanese stuff. Looks like we're gonna need a few batteries. This is really awesome. We could register the warranty, maybe. But look at that. Printed in Japan. Look at this thing. Look how clean this is. This is one of the things that I noticed right here, is that this carrying strap was still coiled up and in its correct spot. This little leather pouch, before we had headphones, stereo headphones, just had these old bell-tone style hearing aid inner ear inserts. I remember these. I remember way back, I think I was in the 9th grade, I bought a digital watch that had an AM radio built into it, and I snaked one of these headphone cables up the sleeve of my jacket and put it in my ear and was listening to the radio in class. Almost positive I got busted, but the teacher could not find the radio, so didn't actually do anything. Let's take this out. I mean, the corrugated paper is still in here. Everything looks really good, really tight. The carrying strap is here. It's all, I mean, look at, there's nothing. It looks like it's never really been used. There's no kinks on this from where it would have been packed around. And look at this. It's red. I did a little bit of searching, and when I was looking up the model number that is on the front of the box, this model right here, every picture I saw, every description I saw said black and silver. But this, on the edge of the box, said red, and you can see that it is red inside of there. So let's see if this has actually been used. Look at, looks like a clock. Just look at how clean that, no yellowing on this plastic at all. Every stitch is still in there, no wear and tear. This is just, it was amazing. Ha! You can actually put your belt through this. Never been used that way. So let's see what it's like on the inside. I actually haven't opened this before. Holy crap. Look at this. This is just incredible. Absolutely incredible. You can barely see it right there, but that says headphone. Tuning knob. Look at this design. And here is something you don't see anymore. This is actually a slot. You're supposed to put a dime or some kind of a coin in there to pop this open. You'll see that there's no, they're usually on these plastic things, you've got some kind of a thumb grip that you can push it open, and it's not actually on there. So let's see if we can find something to pry that open with and see if we can, look at it, there is no wear on this at all. Maybe just a little bit. Probably can't see it on the video, but there's two teeny little cracks right there. Oh, I can get it out. Oh no! It's got batteries in it. Hopefully. There's no corrosion. Okay, so haven't seen one of these in a while. Oh, even the sticker on the inside looks like it did have a little bit of corrosion. Can see a little bit on there, but everything else looks really clean, really tight. And you can see now the speaker, Sanyo. So yeah, this was manufactured by Sanyo and then rebranded with the Channel Master logo on it. Let's see if we can find, I am glad this clip is in here, because otherwise you would think that it took a 9-volt battery, because that's a 9-volt clip, but it goes to this battery pack. those are shiny. Oh, right there. Got a little bit of battery corrosion right there. And that's really it. Just that one teeny tiny little spot. And it's not that bad. Let's see if we can clean that up just a little bit. There's probably a better way to do this, but for a quick test of the radio, just want to make sure that we can get some contact and there's no corrosion where the battery connects. Alright, we'll see if that does it. Plus, minus, shows you. Let's see if the batteries that were in it are actually any good. Oh, listen to that.
Rob Schmidt, Carl Higbee, Rob Finnerty, and more as they expose the big media lies. So Washington... Snacks on cable, on streaming, and download the free app today. It takes just seconds to start.
So, what did we find out? We found out that, as you usually do on a lot of these things, the potentiometer probably has some scratches in it. It looks like it actually has been used. But, and I honestly don't know what AM stations are around. This is just an AM radio. It doesn't have FM, doesn't have stereo. I mean, obviously it's got the coil antenna in here. Looks like everything is still connected. I don't see that anybody has done anything to try and do any work on it. But yeah, this is so clean, so tight. I am really happy about this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull these batteries out so that it doesn't cause any more leakage. That is so nice. No, that even wasn't a nick. It's just got a little bit of, you could probably clean that up with alcohol too. This is just incredible. I mean, the chrome the chromed plastic is all still good. That brass is super shiny in there. The printing on the plastic is this is an incredible shape. Honestly, the original price, well, I'll talk about that in a bit. If you look, this actually has a mini belt loop on it too, and it would have gone on this. You could thread this through there. I honestly don't even know where this is supposed to go. I mean, you can't replace this one. So maybe you undo this and it extends across it. What is that little... No information whatsoever. But headphone might work. Should have checked these. That just looks comfortable as hell, doesn't it? I think you might undo this and this string's in line with it, so it's more like a purse. So, I'm going to talk about this in just a second. We'll be right back. So, yeah. This was actually a pretty good buy. Little bit of checking for sold eBay sales for this same model. Like I mentioned when I was talking about it from the overhead. Most of them were black. I only saw one or two that were the red color. And they were running anywhere between $90 and $120, depending on whether they were trying to get the back end money by saying, oh yeah, you can get it cheap, but the shipping is going to be $40. This was originally marked at $88. Like I said, 75% off, so I got it for $22. I think after looking at this, and you guys saw it first time with me, I had not looked at this other than what you could see when you first opened the box. I had not taken it out of the case, out of the leather case. But if this thing got used when it was brand new, I would be surprised. The batteries in it are Amazon Basic, so obviously the seller opened it up, put batteries in it just to test it. If I remember right, the tag on this with the price had speaker with a question mark on it. So I think maybe they just didn't even understand about the AM radio or the scratchiness of the volume potentiometer. It sounded great when I was able to pick up a station, but as a transistor radio, you couldn't pick up a whole lot of stations because it's handheld. But back in the day when this would have come out, AM radio was all that was out there, and so you were going to have stations all over the place. I grew up in a small town in Idaho, and my grandfather had a farm, and I have no personal connection to this radio. I picked up this radio mostly because the price was right and it was cool and retro and really clean. But I don't collect transistor radios. I might have maybe one other somewhere buried in the collection. But I do remember one thing that happened when I was a kid. I had been given this little red plastic transistor radio. Again, it was an AM radio only. And there were a lot of AM stations in the area. There were repeaters up on top of the mountains, and so you could actually pick it up. And I still remember just that AM radio in and out, that you would sometimes get when the signal was poor. But I do remember I had this little AM radio. It was red, completely plastic, had a plastic strap on it that went around your wrist. You know, this was... I would have to say mid 1970s. But the reason why I remember this is my grandfather, again, I said Idaho, so you know what a farmer in Idaho was doing. He grew potatoes, and it was harvest time, and stereotypical thing. I mean, Idaho, literally, where I grew up, I don't even know if they still do it or not, but where I grew up, they would actually let school out for 2 weeks in October. They called it spud harvest. And they started doing that because everybody grew potatoes. And the potatoes had to get out of the ground and into the spud cellar quickly. And so families were saying all hands on deck, and they were keeping their kids out of school. And so now you've got these kids, and they were trying, so they just said, enough. We're going to shut down for 2 weeks in October. It's a 2-week vacation. Everybody go work in the potatoes and get them in, and then come back to school and continue your learning. So during this time, Grandpa needed help, and he had hired a bunch of the local kids. And this is something that every kid in Idaho would do. During the summer when they were out, some of them would be moving irrigation pipe. And during, we had this big thing called a spud combine. And what would happen is it would dig the potatoes up out of the ground. They would go on chains, and the dirt was supposed to fall through. It would bounce them around a bit. And there was a place up on the top of it where you could fit 3 or 4 people, and they would stand there watching the potatoes go across in front of them, and you had to watch. And that was the last step before it went on this chain conveyor belt and dumped it into the truck that was driving alongside you. And you would pull out dirt clods that didn't break up and fall through the chain, get vines out, because you really didn't want dirt getting into the potato cellar with the potatoes, because that's how potatoes grow, and you don't want to ruin your entire crop. So this whole thing had been going on, and Grandpa had taken the lunch break. So there's these maybe 5 teenage kids that were local, and they had been out in the field since as soon as it got warm enough so that you could actually dig the potatoes and they wouldn't be so cold they would break. And I came walking out of the house, just up there visiting, and had that radio on, had it tuned, and I was listening, and these kids lost their mind. I became their best friend for their lunch break, because they had, this was before Walkmans, this was before portable cassette players. They weren't even, there was nothing to listen to. There were no headphones. You saw the earphone that came with this radio. And so for 30 minutes, while they were all sitting on the lawn around the house eating their lunch, they got to listen to the radio, and they were so happy. And that became what I did, because I was too young to go work on the potato combine. My job was to come out there when they came in for lunch and let them listen to my radio while I ate my lunch with them, which was a big job for somebody who was probably about 7 years old. I had much bigger jobs later. But that's why I bought a transistor radio. Don't collect them, but it reminded me of that time working, or not working, but spending time with my grandfather, my parents, and being a part of what made that little community a big part of my growing up. So, Channel Master Radio, very clean, very tight, made by Sanyo, and do not regret $22 for this thing at all. Even if I never pull it out of the box again, or I just put it up as display, this is perfect for display because it is so well preserved. I mean, this may as well have come off the shelf in 1960 whatever when it was made. Anyway, that's it for today. Just one little radio. I've got some big plans coming up. I know I've said that before and then disappeared for 2 years. But I've had a lot of acquisitions since that video where I sorted through all the video games. And I went back and watched that, and I only did video games. I've got a lot of vintage computers that didn't make it into that video, and I've added a lot, especially in the past year. So I'm almost to the point where I can start going through those, getting my inventory updated, and since I'm going to be pulling them all out to inventory them, may as well show you guys what it is I have. Then maybe we can have a conversation about what's next. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm Corey, the scruffy looking nerd hoarder, and remember, it's not hoarding if it's cool shit. See you guys. Thank you for watching the scruffy looking nerd hoarder, station SLNH, the internet. This concludes our broadcast day.